Hello and welcome to Post-Burnout.com interviews. Post-Burnout.com is a culture website dedicated to venerating burnt-out artists the world over. My name is Aaron Kavanagh and I'm the website's founder and editor-in-chief. This is our website's podcast where we publish the full interviews from our site's articles and sometimes release exclusive episodes. In this edition of Post-Burnout.com interviews, longtime musicians Kevin Homan and Darren Farrell of the new Dublin rock band Alpine Skies discussed meeting and forming the project, why they felt it was important to document their music after over 30 years of playing, their upcoming debut album Inspired Conflicts and its two singles By Your Side and Walls, and much more. On November 20th, Alpine Skies will perform their debut gig as a band at the Sound House in Dublin. They'll be supported by the Elusives and Al Richardson. Tickets for that show is available in the description of this episode. I want to apologise to Kevin and Darren and Ryu set up this interview because we actually recorded this 2 months ago on August 7th when their latest single Walls came out. Fortunately, the album is only set to be released in around November, so technically it's still in time, but my output recently has been pretty bad. It's been about 2 weeks since I uploaded anything. I apologise about that. I have some interviews backlogged that I need to get out soon, so there'll be stuff coming soon, but just the last 2 months I've been kind of all over the place. Yeah, so sorry about that. So for the rest of October, I'll have maybe 3 or 4 more interviews coming out. Also coming soon exclusively on Spotify, there will be an interview with Sprints and Just Mustard, which you can look forward to as well. Until then, I hope you enjoy this and take care. Hi there, how's it going?
Hello, how's it going?
Grand, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet yourself. I'm
Is
Darren.
Darren, perfect. Is Kevin going to be joining us or is this Sue?
He should be, yeah.
Perfect.
I'm as far as aware, he is. It was all pre-arranged. Otherwise, he'd be hanging. Yeah. I had to install there we go. This onto my father's laptop. I'm using my father's laptop.
Perfect.
So, we got
Kevin.
Hello.
How's it going, Kevin? You alright?
Hey, Aaron. How you doing?
Nice to meet you. How are you doing? Sorry, just need to set something.
Not too bad.
Yeah, I won't take up too much of your time. I was just going to start by asking a little bit about how this project kind of came about. My understanding is that it was like mates that kind of said to you, you two should do something together.
Yeah, there was a bit of that, all right, yeah. I don't know, do you want to take that, Darren, or will I? It's up to you.
No, I'll let you start.
Yeah, so it's a number of years ago now, pre-COVID probably, or around that time. We kind of, mutual friends kind of brought us together with the intent of maybe working on some cover material to loosen the muscles to kind of get back into playing and, seeing if the graw was still there for performing, if you will. And I guess I've had that situation before whereby somebody a friend again has approached and said, hey, we're putting together a band, we'd love for you to do a bit of vocals or whatever, and that's grand. But even that first time and now, I pretty much came to the first meeting and just laid the cards out to pretty much suggest, look lads, covers is not really my thing. I'll accommodate what I can for the moment, and we can proceed and see if there's a good gel there, and maybe things will change, but fundamentally at my core is just, I think, creation and production and just trying to, I don't know, get thoughts out of the head in a sense, and get them down on the paper with the additional efforts of others, and just trying to be more original, if you will, in the approach. So I don't know if Darren wants to take over, but pretty much at that point, I don't think Darren had approached originals at that point. I think he spent a lot of time doing cover material, so maybe it was a bit of a...
I think at the time I was only out of a covers band, and through the mutual friend, there was talks of, well, do you want to start up with this lad, and that's how myself and Kev came to come about each other. But I think initially I did twig that the covers wasn't in Kev at all. I knew it was just originals coming from, because you can get that feel for someone that not really into the covers, and that's what initially I picked up on straight away. But that was a good thing as well, because then it was because Full Circle came along, and then I think Kev opened up Pandora's box with myself in terms of releasing all this material that I had inside for years and years and years, which I always thought was, I'm not going to show anyone this, and it's all rubbish. And I don't think I had the confidence in terms of that coming out of me. And Mr. Homan here kind of unleashed that on me, and it hasn't stopped since. So it's blessing in disguise, as I always say it as. It stopped me playing covers, which, to be fair, I think
a good thing.
It was a bit weirdy at the time. Just dealing with too much politics in covers bands. It was wearing me out at the time. So it was a blessing, as I always say.
What was it like actually making that transition from covers to doing your own stuff?
For myself, it was very seamless for me. It was very organic. It was very real, because I'd never dipped my toe in that area at all in terms of music and all. But I don't know. It was just working with Kev. Everything was positive. It was all like, yeah, that's really, really good there. And I was just like, someone actually likes it. And I just kept drip feeding that, and it just grew into something big. Like,
Kevin, what did you like about Darren's work?
His ability. I mean, his technical ability, his acumen, his musical acumen as well is phenomenal. His I've worked with people before, and some people can be lazy, and maybe I'm lazy at times. Maybe that's the creative wandering, but Darren's quite meticulous in his approach, and I think that really bleeds into what we've put together in recording and effort with the crafting of the songs. But I really like the fact that it was a newness to him as well, in a sense. And I think by getting the creative element out of him, his actual abilities, if you will, maybe I'm wrong in saying this, but I felt as though his abilities just grew a new kind of life, if you will. And what I mean by that is, in the covers game, you're kind of set. Here's your script. Play the way it is, and that's it. And that's fine. That's brilliant. It works for a lot of people. That restricts a lot of inner kind of elements of an individual that may even exceed past what they're playing in the covers, which is, phenomenal. But yeah, I think Darren has that ability, especially when it comes to guitar playing and chord progressions as well. So I just thought, well, maybe it was inadequacy in my term. I was just like, I just can't do covers. If I'm going to commit to something, I want to commit to something that's something from nothing, something new, something that's never existed before. And I felt Darren's ability needed to experience that as well, if you will. That's probably selfish, probably sounds selfish. I didn't intend it as a selfish element. It was just, we connected so well. Even though our backgrounds in music are varied, there's a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of variance as well. But the connection was there, so it was a thread I wanted to unfurl, if you will. And thankfully, Darren was happy to join in and ditch. It's a strong word. Ditch the covers for the time being to see how it went.
Yeah.
Darren, what was your background prior to this? Was it just like, because you're talking about the dexterity of the music and your capability. So how long had you been playing for?
At that time when I first met Kev, it would have been...
Well, when did you pick up a guitar originally in life?
1990.
Yeah. So
I was around 20. At that time, I think I was playing around 23 years at that stage. It was 1990. I picked up the guitar. Yeah, it would have been around that time. Listen to metal, Metallica, as Master of Puppets got a grip of me, and it was just an insatiable appetite to learn. And I never knew the guitar was in me really at that stage. I was kind of dipping my toe into dance music at that stage because my friends were in that at the time. But my brother steered me in the right direction with his music tastes. I was always listening in the background in the other room. What's he listening to there? And I'd be like, well, that's really, really good. What is that? That's all. And it was all heavy music, and that's how I went down that path. And I'm so thankful I did.
As you can tell, Aaron, we're no young bucks.
Near am I.
Yeah.
And then Kevin, what about yourself getting into music?
I probably, so there's always been music in my house. My family are very heavily music orientated. My mum and dad would be like, singers in the local church choir. My brother would be a DJ. My other brothers would have picked up a guitar or a bass line around the house, and I also just did the same. I'd say at the age of 16, I picked up my dad's acoustic, and he wrote out 6 of the major chords for me on a piece of paper. And at that stage, Oasis just hit, and I just got consumed by being able to play 3 chords and actually sing or try hold a melody. So my ability never went really past those 3 chords, but the whole idea of following a chord progression and trying to develop a strong melody line has just always been in me from that point. So sadly, I had flaunted with the idea of going to Ballyfermot College to study classical guitar coming out of school. But I think, just Dublin at the time and finances just led me down, college or the work route. So as not to be a burden on the family per se. So, sadly, my ability in playing never lived up to the likes of Darren. But thankfully, we had the opportunity to meet and, exchange, what would you say? I'm stuck for words now. The benefit of each other's half, if you will.
Yeah, how's that kind of? Do you find that your skills are kind of, I don't know, upping as you two work together?
Yeah.
Well, look, I would have to say I've learned so much from when I ditched just like playing covers all my life up until a certain stage, and then, as I said, like I was always writing in the background. I was always doing little things that I would just keep up here. But I say what I've learned since I started working with Kev is, it's like tenfold on what I was doing previously. And in terms of how music works, how melody works, how you do this, and just things all this. And, that's how I would say my journey in the last 10 years for sure. I've learned so much. Like you're always learning, and still on.
So yeah, you never get content with your skill set.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah. No, that's probably, if I was to say, one of my best qualities would always be stay content and always be willing to learn and always listen to other musicians that are down the road. And I think I've always picked up nuggets and just stored them up in the head, like, and it served me well. And it still served me well.
We've got to get you a little placard name tag, Mr. Meticulous. That'd work.
Yeah. No, that must be the autism in me. Has to be done. I think I'm a stickler for, and I make a rod for my own back as well. Like, you either do it or don't do it at all, or do it right or don't do it at all.
So you two, you mentioned earlier, like you would have met before the pandemic, but Alpine Skies, when did this start? Because obviously your debut single came out just this year. So how long has the project kind of been around prior to this?
Yeah, so I mean, pretty much meeting prior to the pandemic and dipping our toes in writing and collaborating together. During the pandemic, I guess it really focused our intent on what we wanted to do. And as somebody said it to me previously, outside of family or friends, it was, or I heard it, it was like legacy. Legacy is something. Don't get me wrong, we don't all get to have a legacy. We don't all get to be important, but we're all important to each of our family members or friend members. So leaving or having something to showcase as opposed to dragging people to see you play all the time. Just having something on record, documented for time capsule, even when you're well long gone, for kids and grandkids, having that there is really, really powerful and really, really beneficial. And I never really thought about it because for years I played in bands and only maybe put out, when I say only, not a lot of people get to put out music, but, put out a couple of singles. So when the pandemic hit and it kind of realigned everybody's intent or journey in life, or what is this life about, really drew in our kind of focus in the whole idea of, okay, we're doing something here. We're compiling songs. We've 40 tracks sitting on a hard drive somewhere. We've actually got material worthy of an album or two or three potentially. Let's put some actual steely effort into this, and let's get into a real recording studio and get some real players on it and play with it, play with us, and get it produced to a standard that we think is to its benefit. We thought the songs were good enough as a collection. We thought, let's do it its best benefit. Let's give it its best legs to stand on, and then put it out there, see how it's received, and move on to the next 10. So I mean, post-pandemic, it really focused our attention to go in and record them professionally, if you will, because we had done so over like Logic and in-home studio setups. So from that moment, post-pandemic, into rolling into a studio and working with a great engineer and producer, friend of ours as well, and working with some great backing musicians to fill in on some of the bass lines we had written, or fill in on the drums that was necessary on the recording. I'd say, I mean, you're talking about a period of 3 or 4 years that it took, because it was scattered over periods of time of availability with studio space and stuff like that. So really post-pandemic really kind of steadied our focus, and then I think we got it mastered and back in our own hands by about like mid of last year, and then it was just about trying to create an intent for the promoting of a single or two, and then the actual release of the album. So, we both have like our families and our full-time jobs and that. So it's not that we are or have the ability to be consumed by this on the daily as much as we are consumed by it. Putting the time in takes time. So it's been a slow approach since, and because of that, it's taken some time. But we've got to the end of this, the end. When I say the end, I mean the release of this chapter. But there'll certainly be further chapters, I feel, anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when it came to actually making a record, inspired conflicts, how long was that kind of like process, I guess?
Yeah, so I think, well, not to jump in again, I think wrapped up in what I had just discussed, in the sense of Alpine Skies becoming an entity and becoming a serious entity in our minds, or something with a focus to be publicly accessible. The thought process of inspired conflicts was wrapped up in that. So I mean, that whole 3, 4, 5 year period of becoming seriously minded and getting a product at the end that we can make publicly accessible was the thought process of putting together the album, because we had already put together some demos and some home recordings of songs that we felt was worthy of taking on a solid, professional studio production, and that's what we did. And basically, it took so long because it was finding time within our own ongoing lives. There was a lot of things going on in life at the time since the pandemic, and it just probably materialized in the space of those 3, 4, 5 years.
And when it came to releasing your first single, By Your Side, earlier this year, why did you decide to go for that as the first one, as the introduction to the project?
I'm going to plead the fifth on this one, and I'm going to let Darren answer. I'm going to stop talking for a while.
Oh, yeah, right. That's sorry, I missed the question. What was the question?
No, it's just why did you decide on that one for your first single, By Your Side?
I think that chopped and changed a few times. There was numerous candidates for the first release, and I think it came down to, was it maybe partners kind of when they listened to all the tracks, they were saying, yeah, that's a good show for the first release, and it's a strong song. It's ironic as well that was the first one, because I think that's one of my oldest riffs that I penned many moons ago. so to see that getting the traction is quite joyous. But yeah, as I said, there was numerous candidates. Or is that just a vanity thing saying that there's so many strong songs on the album?
Yeah.
It's good to back yourself from time to time.
Yeah, well, shameless plug as they say.
Yeah. I think you're right though, Darren. I think we would have been very protective of the songs and not kind of
Yeah.
showed them to many people at all, and got feedback from our very close family and friends. But I think the romantic in me likes to think that the first line of the song, and into this dark and lonely night, is just the really first step of our journey, if you will, into this public sphere as complete unknowns, as an entity, as a band. So I like to tie in that kind of tagline as well. But it's certainly the power of the many, is it? The thought process of the many. So yeah.
Perfect. And then releasing your follow-up Wall, which just came out. Again, was that kind of like always going to be the second one? Did you have that thought out, or was it kind of just more you have the record and then each time it feels right to release a new song? I don't know what your pattern is in terms of release schedule, but when it came to going for that as the second one, what was the thought process? I guess was it natural, or again was it kind of weighty? Like, okay, what's the second one?
Yeah, so we just released Walls today, actually, which just came out on all the streaming services. So that's cool. Again, and I say this uh, reluctantly at times, but I really don't want to overly influence Darren on his experience of doing this. And I really think that this was one of the great chord progressions that Darren had actually penned and put together. And I thought it was a really strong song, much to a lot of them. I just felt it follows on from By Your Side with a kind of, so By Your Side has an energy and it has a bit of a beat to it and a pumping chorus, if you will. But I feel as though this second song, Walls, is just this relentless drive towards hope, if you will, and just the idea of accomplishment, I feel. And it always just struck me in the studio when he brought the song to the studio that I think the melody and if you will, the chorus hook line of it just instantly like was conceived. It didn't overly complicate itself like some songs we've had, and we've tried to do this or tried to do that. This felt really natural and really catchy, if you will, in that regard. So it just felt natural to be rolling into that kind of song, if you will, after the first release of By Your Side. That for me was reason enough, and much to what Darren had said previously, in the sense of getting some ideas off close family and friends. We pretty much asked our partners and maybe one family member, if you were to pick 3 songs from this 10, which would you pick? Or 4 at a push. And 90% like of that team of 4 or 5 people came back with 3, if not 4 of the same songs. So if it resonated with other people as much as it resonated with us, although fairly close to us, we felt we were on a good path. Having said that, I feel as though, as myself and Darren have figured over the years, we're really trying to interest each other with what we do in songwriting, and we're trying to keep each other interested in what comes out of us in the creative process. So as long as we're doing that, I feel as though we'll be happy in a sense, because this is a lot of people can say this is a worthless endeavor. You're shouting into the abyss, and you're producing something for an already saturated arena, and that's fine. But this is something within us that we'll continually do. So, once we're interesting each other and keeping each other, sharp, I think that'll be good.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting what you said earlier about, to some degree, it's about documentation after you go. It's it's a morose thought, I guess, but I guess to some degree it is kind of like people do think about their existence after, you know.
I did say we're no young whippersnappers. So no, not that we're on a death door or anything either.
Yeah.
No, I just I mean, I've friends in bands, and I've guys I know who've played bands down the years, and they've such, output, and they've a lot of stuff. I still got CDs in the house, and I've a lot of stuff by them, and it's great to look at it. It's great to play it, and it's great to think,
Absolutely.
like, potentially this isn't even on streaming services, and it's great. It's just a feel good, even nostalgia, whatever. It's just a feel good moment for a friend or a family member. So the thought process is, why not do that similar process for yourself and Darren as well. So yeah, not to be morose, but yeah.
And when we're looking in terms of like a release schedule for Inspired Conflicts.
Yeah, so I mean, we slowly mapped out. I think it was about, and again, this is all new to us in the sense of having an online presence and getting your music up on streaming service and being an artist on Spotify. All of that is completely new, and like that's taken time to put together and piece together correctly. But I think in the June of this year, we released the first single. So I imagine it was about April, May, when we kind of finished what we thought would be a strategic approach for the year. And it was to drop the first single in June, follow it up with the second single now today in August, with an approach to do a potential third single in September, late September, early October, with a potential for a fourth single off the album at the start of November, with the actual album being released on the 7th of November. I mean, that's the tentative approach at the moment.
Yeah.
And we were going to coincide that with playing our first live gig with a live band with ourselves on a gig in the Sound House on Eden Tree on Thursday, the 20th of November. Ourselves.
I'll make sure to plug that.
Yeah, ourselves and other friends of ours are playing the Elusives, and another solo artist called Al Richardson as well is the three acts on the night, and it's going to be a great night of original music. We'll be slotted in the middle of three, so we're really looking forward to that. But that was the kind of thought process to the approach for the year, and just gathering our ducks at that moment and seeing where we see where we lie and see what approach we want to take from that moment onward.
Perfect. Thanks very much for your time, guys. Is there anything you'd like to add before we wrap up, and just tell people where they can find you and all that?
I mean, it's funny, I've just literally been working on Spotify and Instagram and Linktree and all that, but I mean, most of our social posting at the moment comes from Instagram, and it feeds to Facebook, and it's there.
Everyone has to do the Instagram now. It's just like it is the platform.
It's the platform, isn't it? It is.
There's an ease of access with that and Facebook being combined, and then I mean, you link your Linktree bio in there, and it links out to your contact details and your Spotify and your Bandcamp.
I find like people don't really use like Twitter anymore. No one uses it. Even Facebook's kind of going down a bit. It depends, I guess. Like some people still use it, but Instagram is kind of where every artist is now. Instagram, Spotify, obviously. I don't know if you're doing TikToks, if you're filming TikToks or anything.
I'm on into that, just
yeah. But those are kind of like Instagram is the one platform where you kind of find everyone.
Yeah. I think it's just reflective of society as a whole, right? It's just everybody's got that 7-second window of a reel, and it's like, right, move on to the next one, move on to the next one. So we progress from the stove oven to the microwave oven, and God only knows what's next,
And what was the name? Sorry for where people can find it on Instagram.
They'd find us Instagram.com/we are Alpine Skies.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay, thanks very much for your time, guys, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks so much, Aaron. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Cheers.
Take care. Thank you for listening to that episode of Post-Burnout.com interviews. We're available wherever you get your podcasts, so we hope that you enjoyed and would consider subscribing, giving it a like on YouTube, or a rating anywhere else. We also have some exclusive episodes only available on Spotify, which features interviews with the likes of Kim Deal, Ron Mail of Sparks, Jacob Slater of Wonder Horse, Maria Kelly, Gavin Friday, and many more. So check those out if you're so inclined. Otherwise, thank you for listening and see you next time.